Nithyanandam. My name is Kripanidhi Nithya, and I am a disciple of Sri Nithyananda Swami. And today in this video I'd like to talk about incompletions, what they are, how to identify them, and also maybe a little bit about what kind of impact incompletions can have on you. So an incompletion essentially is a wrong cognition that you have about either a situation or an image or a thought, as a result of which you carry something that happened in the past and it stays with you in the present, and it continues to affect your future or the outcomes. There's a very specific example that I want to talk about to illustrate this. So when I finished, I finished my bachelor's degree in engineering in India, and after I finished, I moved to the States to do my to do graduate studies. I finished my master's, and when I graduated with my master's in the US, the job market was really bad. And I was looking for work. It had been a couple of months, and I ended up taking an internship, an unpaid internship at a well-known tech company, and they had an urgent requirement. They had the division that I was going to be working at. They had 4 weeks to complete a report about the quality systems they had in place, as well as what successes they had. It was a comprehensive quality report about the division. And what happened was I ended up going in there, and I was with a lot of ease, and very quickly I started writing that report, and I was able to complete a report that did a really good job of summarizing what they were doing, and kind of help the division put its best foot forward within the deadline. And the management that I was working with there at the division, they were not only pleased with my work, but they also wanted to help me. They knew I was looking for work, and they informed me that they were actually looking to see if they could find a position for me within the company, or if there wasn't a position, if there was any way they could create a position. And they were speaking to various people in the company to make that happen. So that time I was living with my uncle, and one day I was home, and my uncle just asked me what was happening with the internship that I was doing. And I told him that I finished the report, and that now I was planning to continue there because they were looking to create a paid position for me. And I also shared with him that as long as I was continuing to work there, it would present me, even if I was end up looking for a job elsewhere, the work experience I was getting and the success I had with that quality report would present me would put me in a much better position to secure employment. So when my uncle heard this, his response, I wasn't expecting it. He told me flat out that he felt that I was being exploited in that role, that I was doing unpaid work, and they probably were not going to be successful in converting that to paid work, and I was just essentially being exploited. And when he said that, for some reason, I very quickly accepted his point of view. I started feeling that I had done great work. I wasn't being paid for it. After all, I was a graduate. I had finished graduate school, and literally the following day when I went into work, I told them that I would not be continuing there. So essentially that I would not be coming back for work. And they were a little, I could see that they were a little taken aback. There they were happy with the work I had done. They were doing their best to create some work for me, and they couldn't quite understand why I would walk away from a situation like that. But I walked away from that situation, and in hindsight, I realize now that really that it happened for a couple of reasons. One of them was that there was a small portion of me that was feeling a little powerless about working and not getting paid, and somehow the conversation with my uncle triggered that part of that feeling of powerlessness, which seemed to dominate my whole evaluation of the situation. The other thing was I just had a lack of experience. I didn't realize that oftentimes at work, it's when people appreciate some work you've done, and it can take some time to create a position or to find a paid position. And oftentimes it's when you're being recommended for a position from within the company that the best jobs and opportunities open up for you. But instead, what I did was I took a situation where I ignored literally all the positive aspects and just focused on that one little thing, which was also not the reality but just the way of interpreting it. I made that the dominant aspect, and I took action based on that. I took action based on a feeling of powerlessness I had, and essentially my whole assessment about the situation was wrong. My interest would probably have been better served by continuing there, accepting their offer to continue working there while they look to create a paid position for me. The following day, my uncle, when I was with my uncle, he asked me what happened, and I told him that I had quit my internship, and he was surprised, and he said that, "Why did you quit your internship?" And I said, well, I was surprised at his response, and I said, "Well, I thought you were the one who convinced me that I was being exploited. So, what did you expect me to do?" And he was. So what I realized was he was just kind of, he was just ventilating. He was just being negative without actually advocating that I resign that position. And so I realized that I was my action was not, he didn't even support my action, although I had based that decision to quit based on the conversation I had with him and his point of view. So it was a cognition made in a moment of powerlessness, and which was incorrect. And so that created incompletion in me, which drove me to take the wrong action. So that's a very specific kind of incompletion I'm talking about, and there are other incompletions, but I wanted to share this example to illustrate what incompletions are. Incompletions, it's important to understand incompletion, because incompletions can be quite damaging. In my case, I closed off a lot of opportunity at which because of that decision that I made. And so it's what I'll speak in later videos is how how incompletion can prove to be quite expensive, as well as ways in which one can deal with incompletions and how one can become complete. So thank you for watching. Nithyananda.